try to get as much of that stuff out of the way as possible with them, you know, first couple of days to first week that they're at our training center. And that's another thing, getting back to the big picture of this video of, you know, keeping ourselves safe, is we test everything initially, right? How is he when he sees squirrels? How is he when he gets a big correction? Does he try to redirect on us or anything like that? How is he with having his nails done? That's something we did day one with him. How is he going in and out of the kennel, et cetera, et cetera. You want to test every scenario and address the issue head on right away. That way, if there's gonna be a problem, you see it, you're aware of it, you know how to avoid it moving forward, or you know how to work past it and get him better with it. What's up, guys? Dave with Miracle Canine. So today what we're gonna be doing is we are gonna be working Maxx. Maxx is a new board and train that just got dropped off maybe 4 days ago, something like that. And he is a handful, we'll say. He is very big. He's very strong. He has gotten away with throwing his weight around and pushing people around for basically his entire life. That's resulted in him developing some resource guarding issues, some general, we'll call it brattiness over things like being handled in ways he doesn't like, resource guarding issues. He absolutely would not let anybody put a muzzle on him initially, and like severely tried to bite our staff members trying to put a muzzle on him for the first time. It was a whole mess, right? So a lot of people, you know, when we're working with dangerous dogs, we get the question from mostly newer trainers a lot, asking like, how do you guys stay safe with dogs like this? Like what is it that you do right off the rip with dogs like this so that over the course of 24 hours, 48 hours, we could handle these dogs and we can make sure that they're not posing that much of a risk to ourselves? And this is a question that understandably owners ask us as well, obviously. Hey, if I send my dog there, how am I gonna make sure my dog doesn't bite you because you put yourself in a dumb position with the dog and then I'm gonna get sued over it or this? I mean, reasonable questions, obviously. So what I wanna do is I wanna break down kind of what our routine is with a dog like this once we've gotten past the first 24 hours of the dog coming in either on muzzle or us working through the muzzling process initially with them, and then how we go about creating predictable routines for things like getting the dog out of the crate, for things like you know, gearing the dog up for training sessions, for actually working them, for putting them away, for feeding them, all of those types of things. I'm gonna try to break down as many of those as I can. So this is basically gonna be a training session with him where I take him out, gear him up, show you that process, work him a little bit, gear him down, put him away, and you guys can kind of learn from that and then ask questions below, obviously. So let's get started. All right, guys, so I'm gonna get them out of the kennel here. So a couple things. First, anytime we got dogs like this, we have them wear drag lines in the crate. We have it attached to a flat collar, and the drag line is a metal drag line. That way they can't chew it or ingest it or anything. When you look at dogs like this, the top places that you're gonna get bit, if you're gonna bit anywhere, is reaching into a crate to get a dog. Obviously the dog fighting you, trying to get back into the kennel, or any situations where you need to get really, really intimate with them. So obviously we can't have these dogs wearing muzzles 24/7. So because of that, when they're in the kennel, our secondary safety protocol we have to put in place is the drag line, and allows so that when I need to get them out, I could take some grabbers here. I could reach into the kennel. I could get that. And even if he's, you know, throwing a little tantrum, trying to bite, you know, anything like that, I could get this slip lead out. I could gain control over him. Okay. And then I could get him out very successfully without a big fight. So I've got him out. Next thing we do here is I'm gonna bring him over, and immediately I'm gonna give him some direction. Bed, down. Now, first 24 hours, if we don't have some type of stationary command established, in this case, this dog has had a little bit of training, so a bed and a downstay is something we could enforce pretty simply with him. But if it was a dog that had no training, I know in 24 hours I could teach a fairly rock solid sit and utilize that in order for to move on to stage 2, right? So I've got him in a bed stay here. I've got him situated. Now, the next thing I'm gonna do before I actually start training this dog is I'm gonna have all of my gear situated here. So I've got obviously my pinch collar and leash. I've got my e-collar, I've got my muzzle, and I always like to have a bite sleeve initially with dogs like this to be able to muzzle them without needing to put my hand into a vulnerable position. So here's what that process looks like. I'm gonna get the muzzle on next here. I take that bite sleeve, I grab the muzzle from the bite sleeve like that. That way I could go ahead and get this on his face. Perfect. From there I could get the straps. And then I could get this all clipped up nice and good. Take your time with this, obviously. if he were to break this downstay, I would utilize a leash correction. Even though he's just on a flat collar, I could still implement a fairly firm leash correction for non-compliance of this bed stay, get him resituated back into it, and then continue moving forward with stuff. So by getting him focused on the thing I'm asking him to do, obviously I could safely put that muzzle on without a ton of resistance and make sure that I keep myself safe along that process. So step 2, we want to start getting his training gear on. So before I take this off, this is my only means of control right now. I need to get a secondary means of control on. So that's where my prong collar is going to come into play. So I'll take this, and I'm going to get that situated. Once I have that clipped on, I could take this one off, get that out of the way. And then obviously, if you're planning on utilizing an e-collar, which obviously we're going to use with him, we're not really using it yet, but we want to get him used to having this put on as well. You go ahead and clip that on too. And then once you're all geared up, then at that point, if you feel comfortable doing so, depending on where the dog's at in their training and what you're going to be working on, you can then take the muzzle off. And still, through that whole process, I'm enforcing the thing that I'm asking him to do, which is the downstay on the bed here right now. And again, people always look at stuff like this when we're only a couple days into it and look at like, oh my gosh, like he's stressed out or whatever. It's hard to explain how bad this dog was with having anything put on him, particularly that muzzle. And frankly, he was so bad with being muzzled and so unsafe with it that we weren't even able to film the process because of that. So, you know, you'll have to take our word on it, obviously. But it's stepping stones here, right? We got him in a place where we can now safely get all the gear on, and once all the gear is on, we could then start our training session, right? Good. Obviously, along the process, we add rewards into this too, and then we would start our training sessions. That's what we're gonna do here next. Okay, so we're starting our training session here. So our target goal today is we wanna really kind of refine his obedience commands. Even though I could get him to heel with me and I can get him to do downstays and bed stays and stuff as you see, we're trying to start to build some motivation with him through this process. So I've actually got some rewards here right now. And he sniffs his food up there. He said, I smell something good. So we've got his rewards here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk him downstairs onto the training floor. We're gonna work some bed stays, we're gonna work some downstays, we're gonna be utilizing some rewards for the process. We're gonna do our training session, then once that's done, we're gonna bring him back up here. We're gonna reverse that whole sequence, get all of his gear off, and then put him away. Come. Good. Come. Good. So with dogs like him, I really like to early on in the training process, have a very high frequency of reward once I've gotten him relatively under control. Paige will input into this video maybe here some clips of day 1 when he still had the muzzle on of us working through some of the leash walking. My goal with a dog like this would be, you've got to just like demand some respect out of them like immediately. So we're not really going to play like a slow game of how we generally would. Let's do all this leash pressure work and this and that. I'm gonna make sure first and foremost, I could get this dog to focus on me no matter what the hell's going on around him. So really, what I would do with a dog like this is focus on the leash work and specifically just a lot of like hard 180 drills until I've got his attention like completely on me. So that's really what I'm gonna do here to start. Come. Nope. Come. And a lot of that process is pretty firm. We were using a lot of corrections to do so. We really needed to kind of demand some respect out of him, which is why he's obviously walking nicely with me. So now that we have that established and he knows that there's only so much that he's going to be able to get away with me, now we can start to make the process a little bit more fun and start to build a little bit more trust with him. Good. Come. Good. Come. So we're going to start off by working our bed stays. Bed. Good. Sniff it up. Check out the other dogs. Okay. And with him, since he's had some training, we are kind of in bed. More of proofing stages. Good. Then teaching stages. No. Which means that we're not using like our negative reinforcement in order to teach things, pressure on, pressure off, stuff like that. We're not using food lures or anything. We're enforcing things with a yes and no protocol because he knows what bed is. In situations where he may break a bed stay like that, I'm implementing an actual correction for that. So I'm utilizing positive punishment. So I marked with no, gave a leash pop for that. Good. And then once he does the correct thing, that's where we communicate the yes, obviously. Okay. And we start to create our boundaries by doing this. Bed. Good. Okay. Bed. Good. Okay. Bed. Good. Again, we get basic day-to-day distractions of the other dogs being ran, obviously. As you recall from his drop-off, he's very reactive to other dogs, so things like this are obviously a great test, but because of the training we've already done over the course of the last 2 days or so, you see how much more respectful that he's being from it. Good. So we're going to reinforce for correct behavior through that, obviously. Good. Okay. Bed. Good. Okay, other things you'll notice that I'm doing here. When I am rewarding for stuff, bed. Good. I'm not like going right into his space with that treat. And some of that comes from obviously his resource guarding issues that he has. We don't fully trust yet going that intimate with things. So I'm gonna make him kind of meet me halfway with those rewards. Okay. Bed. Good. Okay. So we'll start adding some duration in next. Bed. Good. No. Bed. Same deal as I walk around, utilizing that no marker in order to correct where I need to. Making sure that he's staying stationary there. Good. Okay. Bed. Good. Good. Okay. Bed. Good. Good. Okay. Bed. Good. Good. Additional things that we do through the safety protocol process. Okay. Now, I trust this dog a little bit more now because I've been working with him for a couple of days here. But early in the process, the next step of that would generally be dropping the leash and walking away. That would put myself in another vulnerable position where I've lost control over him. So for the sake of consistency in what we're working on here, down. We're not going to add in any leash drops just yet in the process. Give you a second there. No. Down. Good. Things like itching generally will give dogs a little bit of a freebie on it initially, unless it turns into where they're almost stalling for time like that. Okay. Down. Good. Okay. Down. Good. Okay. Down. Good. Okay. Down. Good. Okay. So I'm going to add some duration in next. Still making sure that we're holding the leash for that duration. Down. Good. Look at the subtle itch. So maybe I won't go so crazy with it. Okay, I like this dog. Down. Good. Okay. Down. Good. Okay. Bed. Good. Okay. Come on. Down. Good. Good. Okay. Bed. Good. Good. Okay. Bed. Good. Good. Okay. Very good. So we wrapped up our interior training session here now. Bed stays, down stays, which is our target goal. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick walk with him. I always like to decompress with dogs like him with a walk after that training session. And then what we'll do is we'll load him back up in the kennel and go through that process. Another one running up there. There's two. There's one. Did it? There's this guy right there. And then that one. Yeah, right. Down. Wow, good job, buddy. See that thing? Come. So you always like to look for opportunities to test him with these types of things. So squirrel, a lot of people, especially when they're early in the training process, they would avoid situations like that. Oh, he's not ready for it, or whatever it may be. Down. We kind of let, obviously depending on where there are some situations where you want to avoid, harder distractions, obviously, but early on in his board and train, a lot of people, regardless of the amount of training he has, would say, that's too big a distraction or don't work on that yet. But he's had some training before. He's already proven to me inside that he could respond clearly to a down command, and I have a clear way to both reinforce for him doing it successfully as well as correct for non-compliance of it that he actually understands. So I'm not going to avoid these situations. If I notice he gets a little distracted by them, I'm going to intentionally work around them a little bit and make sure I get that compliance, and that's how we're going to get him past these hurdles much more rapidly than a lot of other people would. Come. Every time you encounter a new scenario that previously you had no control over your dog and you get a victory around it, even if he made a couple mistakes and we did have to give a couple corrections, you're going to feel more and more confident in your dog, which is going to allow you to then go and do more stuff with them in the big picture of things. So try to get as much of that stuff out of the way as possible with them, first couple of days to first week that they're at our training center. And that's another thing, getting back to the big picture of this video of, keeping ourselves safe, is we test everything initially, right? How is he when he sees squirrels? How is he when he gets a big correction? Does he try to redirect on us or anything like that? How is he with having his nails done? That's something we did day one with him. How is he going in and out of the kennel, et cetera, et cetera. You want to test every scenario and address the issue head on right away. That way, if there's going to be a problem, you see it, you're aware of it, you know how to avoid it moving forward, or you know how to work past it and get him better with it. Bed. Down. Good. So then lastly, we're just going to reverse the sequence to get them all ungeared up, if you will. So muzzle on, take e-collar off first. Before we take this leash off, we've got to make sure that we get our other leash back on. Pop prong off, and then you could take the muzzle off. Come. And then we would just get them loaded back into the crate. Crate. And that would be start to finish of how we take a dog like him out of the kennel, get them ready to be worked, work them, and then put them back in while keeping everybody safe.